Alright guys, now that we've gone as far as we can go with the Super Stocker until my decals, which I have ordered from STS decals, come in, we're going to jump right back on the Mr.mo convertible GTO. And we last left off with the painting of the chassis and of the exhaust system, which we're going to be doing a little more work on the exhaust system. We're going to be adding a little more of the heat staining to it, using some weathering powders, so we'll all see how that'll come out. We may do a little bit of dry brushing on the chassis just to make it look a little more lived in. And I decided, if you remember, we had the engine completely done. And the one thing that bothered me about the engine was this carburetor that came with it, which, even with doing a little bit of detail painting to it, really didn't look like much. So I managed to pop it off the engine, and what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to end up using the Iceman carburetor right here that I ordered. You guys saw this in a couple episodes ago where I just got some parts in from Iceman, these resin carburetors and fuel pump. We're going to be adding that to the engine too. Going to look a lot better than that other little lump. I mean, if we put them side by side here, there really is no comparison.
Nope.
And there it goes. But we don't care anymore. So he's going to get a full-on resin carburetor on the top of this engine. And a fuel pump, which this engine also didn't bring a fuel pump, unlike the other V8 in the Super Stocker, which at least had the fuel pump molded to the side of the block. This one does not. But we've already added some details to the block just to try and improve it, because it really was, I mean, there was just nothing there. And the details, I think, are really working on this particular engine. So it's got a perfect spot for the fuel pump right there on the side. We're going to put the carburetor on, maybe run a fuel line from the pump to the carburetor. You know, let's just see how we go and where we're getting on this. We also need to add a AC compressor, but that's after the engine's installed in the chassis. So right now, I've spent a bit of time cleaning up parts. If we'll take a look over here, we've got the seats ready for paint. We still have to pull out the headrests. We've got our steering wheel cleaned up, our lower rear valance. The dashboard had a really bad seam over the top of the dash. That's gone. We've got all our wheel backs ready for paint. And in my little tub of bleach, I've got the wheels stripping the chrome. So right now we're going to get started on another little bit that I wanted to modify on this kit. If you look at the side panels of the interior tub, look at those are supposed to be the armrests. I mean, if they were going to just put flat armrests on there, why even bother? I mean, look at that. There's no... There's supposed to be a three-dimensional armrest. There's nothing there. So, I'm in the process right now of making a template. You can see I have the tape there around the shape of the armrest. I'm going to copy that shape and then start cutting it out on some styrene plastic. And we're going to see how well it goes to making an armrest for this interior, which we still have to somehow modify to make it look like a convertible interior, which I'm not really sure how I'm going to do that. But we're going to get close, maybe, somehow. We'll see. Okay, guys, we have the interior coming together, and we have primer on some of the parts, but then I completely forgot about the headrests. So we're going to have to add some primer to that. I wanted to finish talking about the armrests. that I made for this. Now, these are the armrests here, and I've tried to replicate what Mr.mo has in his car. I'll put a picture of it right here, and I'll show you how I made the, well, I'll tell you about it because I forgot to film it when I was making it, so I'm going to tell you. I used my thickest sheet of sheet styrene. I cut out the shape of the armrests based on what was here in the door panel. Then I just doubled up the styrene to give them some height, so that way when they get placed in the door panel, they'll stick right out of the door panel just like the real door, just like a real armrest. And then I took a small piece of photo etch material that I had left over and cut it down to size and made my door release handle. If you look at Mr.mo's doors right there, the handles protrude from the armrests and just kind of hang there. So they're going to be done in chrome while the rest of it is in interior color. But I'm really happy with the way that came out. They're going to look really neat sitting inside the car. And let me tell you about what colors I've picked for this. I picked up some new paints. These are Atom colors by MIG. By Ammo. Who makes these? Oh, I forget who makes these. Okay, Ammo. Atom colors by Ammo. These are washable. You can brush them, it says here, and airbrush them. They look very, very thin, so it looks like they're ready for airbrushing. And I'm going to try them for the first time on this build. I have these slightly darker tinted, what color is this? This is washable dust is the color, and this is going to be the main color for the interior, which is washable sand. So I guess we're washing sand and dust into this car. And these two are going to make the interior colors. As I looked on the pictures of Mr.mo's car, and it looks like the dashboard is just a slightly darker brownish color than the rest of the interior. And this color just seems to match perfectly with what's in the photographs that I have of his car. So these are going to be the two interior colors, and we're going to be using these paints for the first time and seeing how good they are. So let's get back to what we're doing here right now with these headrests. First thing I'm going to tell you is that these headrests are going to require work. There is a nasty seam mold line that runs across the entire headrest. I've already removed it on that one, and I'm removing it in this one. And then, to mount the headrest, you have to insert the pin into the, let's see if I can show you this here. Will you focus right into the hole on the seat back. One thing I gotta tell you, yeah, it don't fit. Say what? So what you're gonna have to do is you're going to have to shave down the pin after you've done all the corrections on the headrest to make it fit, and then install your headrest. Now that's going to complete everything we have to assemble for the interior, and then we're going to go right to paint, as we already have all our other stuff painted. There's a steering wheel. If you guys, we can focus on that. Let's see. There's a steering wheel. We have our wheel backs already done. There's not a lot of parts in this kit, so the parts count is going up as I make things for it. Now we're also going to have to make an 8-track player because Mr.mo has to have his tunes. So if you take a look at this picture here, he's got an 8-track player sitting right above the center console. One of these days I've got to get him to show me how it works, because I've never actually seen an 8-track player that works. So we're going to go ahead and start making that 8-track player right after we finish assembling these seats. And then we'll have to start getting to paint.
so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
We're gonna dump it in the stripper and start all over again because I just got to get this color right. So we're gonna put all of our pieces in here. If you guys have seen this stripper that I've used, I've had it on the channel in the past. This is the best stripper that I have ever run across. It's called Model Safe. And this same dunk tank I've been using for well over a year with the initial bottle that I bought from this company. And this is one of the bodies that I stripped a while back. And it has been used on many, many, many different projects. And it's not as strong as it once was, but it'll still strip the paint right off of everything I've put in it so far. So I'm pushing it to see how far it'll go before it just becomes ineffective. So let's see how well it does on this before I have to dump it out and refill the tank.
3 hours later.
Alright guys, it's been a couple hours. We're going to come back in and see exactly where we're at with our paint removal. Let's give it a little bit of a shake in there. And yep, looks like all the paint is just melting off the parts. Okay guys, now all the parts for the interior are drying now because I had to wash them all off after pulling them out of the paint stripper bath. We're going to jump back on the engine and we're going to be installing the Iceman Collections carburetor and fuel pump. You can see the carburetor here. This is very, very cool. Just hit it with a little bit of paint using the all-clad pale burnt metal, which gives it that nice goldish tone for the carburetor. I mean, look at the detail on that. Amazing. And now we're going to go ahead and glue it onto the engine. And then we're going to run a fuel line because we're also installing this fuel pump. Again, also from Iceman Collections. Look at that. That looks really neat. So we're going to be installing these parts in, and then we're going to actually run a fuel line. Now we're going to attempt to make our fuel line from using our B-landing wire. You can get this at Hobby Lobby in their jewelry department, and it looks like it looks like this is going to look scale correct. So only one way to find out, and that's to give it a shot. So right now, first thing I'm going to do is install the carburetor into the engine, and then we're going to work everything out. Okay guys, and here we have the finished product. We have our carburetor and fuel line installed. The fuel line is routed down around the front of the engine and headed toward the fuel pump. Don't know how accurate it is, but I think it looks pretty cool. Alright guys, I don't know if you can see this here or not, considering everything is all bright white, but in this interior we had crank windows. Now Mr.mo has the rare option power windows for these cars, because there was a time when power windows were optional, kids. And so this one had the window cranks engraved. So what I've been doing is slowly eliminating the window cranks. And you can see here on the front, not so bad, just a little filler sanded down, and that kind of fills in the window crank. On the rear, the window crank is engraved over the door panel. Now, as you can see, the window crank is engraved onto the door panel, over the door panel details. So that makes it a little tough to get rid of. Now, I've done it here with pretty decent results. Window crank is now completely gone, and I've re-engraved all of the door details, or as much of them as I can. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove this window crank. Focus, focus. Come on, camera, focus. I'm going to go ahead and remove as much of this window crank as I can and then redo the engravings on the door panel. So let's see if I have as good a luck as I did the first time. Okay, guys, now it's time to start making some personalized parts for Mr. Mo's car. The first thing we have to do is make this 8-track player that he has sitting right on his center console. I'll put a picture of it right here so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about if you've never seen an 8-track player. It's an old style tape player. So I'm gonna try and make it out of styrene. You can see here it's got 2 knobs on it, and it's actually got an 8-track cassette sticking out of it. So I'm gonna see how I can try and replicate that out of sheet styrene. Right here I've already cut out my first 2 parts. This is going to be the lower part of the player, which is going to sit right here the way it does in the photo. Now we need a face to it, so that's our second piece here, which we are going to glue together and try and make a small box out of this. I'm not really sure how well this is going to work, but hey, we're going to find out together. Take our Tamiya thin, and then I've got to see how tall I can make it in order to make it fit under the dash. There we go. We'll put our Tamiya thin there. We'll glue our 2 portions together there. It's going to be interesting doing this. I've never made an 8-track player before. I've made a few things that you guys have seen on the channel, but I've never made an 8-track player. So there we go. There's the face. I really love using this Tamiya thin because it welds the pieces together so they become one solid piece instead of separate pieces, which really allows you to manipulate them and do all your sanding and everything without risk of everything falling apart every 5 seconds. Now you just have to give it time to dry and cure so that it forces a strong bond between the parts before you start going on further. Alright guys, you can see here our little mocked up 8-track player fits perfectly underneath the dash. So now we just have to clean it up. Then we have to make a cassette and the knobs that go on it. But we still have quite a bit of work to do on the housing. Guys, I mixed up. I don't know the exact ratios because I was just kind of doing it by eye till I got the color I wanted. And I mixed up probably about 70% Mission Models British Sand, Yellow Modern, 10% Mission Models Red, and maybe like 20% Mission Models Yellow, which is going to be more or less the combination that gave me the color, the final color that I got, which I'm very, very happy with, as it's the closest I've gotten to Mr. Mo's interior so far. That is very, very close to what I saw, or what to me looks like his car. Maybe it's a little bit lighter. Maybe could have a touch more red in it. But I'm really, really close with this one, so I'm happy with that. And that's where it's going to be. Now we're going to wait for that to dry and cure, and then we're going to hit it with a semi-gloss coat, also from Mission Models. Semi-gloss clear, which really sprays nicely, just like all the rest of their paints. They spray amazingly. I can't say enough good things about Mission Models paints. I love them. So we're gonna do that as soon as this paint dries and cures up. We're gonna hit it with a semi-gloss on the seats. Alright guys, now let's take a look at all the work we've done so far on the interior and see how far we've got to go. Here we have the interior tub. Now it's about to get flocked, as you can see there, and that's why I gave it a dark brown painting on the floor there, so that the flocking will cover the brown and we won't see any light spots that'll show through the flocking. This just helps to hide the color of the initial paint job. Here we have our seats. You can see the semi-gloss gives it a really leather-like look. And then we used a little bit of Mr. Weathering color, stain brown, to just slightly darken up the seats and give them a slightly uneven texture, and also bring out the pleats in the seat, which gives it more of a leather-like look. As you can see, there are light spots, dark spots, kind of the uneven color of real leather. And here we have door handles are done. Very happy with the way those came out. Now the foot pedals, I haven't painted them yet because I was toying with the idea of making foot pedals that would be attached to the dash. So I'm going to have to see if I can get those to fit and get that to work. Now we're going to come over here. We're going to take a look at the dashboard, and that I'm really happy with. You can see here how we have the black part of the dash, which is the black plastic trim on the bottom, just like Mr.mo's dash. We have our center chrome strip or aluminum strip that goes along his dash, and then we have the wood trim, and you can see lights and darks in there just to simulate the grain of the wood. Very happy with the way that came out. Our gauges and everything are painted in there. I'm going to add lenses to that, and we have our saddle brown coloring. And here we have our seats. You can see they also have the stain brown Mr. Weathering color there to bring out the pleats a little bit and give them more of that leather look. They came out very nice. The steering wheel, still not done, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be using that steering wheel, as Mr.mo has a slightly different steering wheel in his car. So I'm going to see what I can do about replicating that. And here we have our 8-track player. Very pleased with the way that came out. And so there we go, guys. That's the whole interior as of now. So we're going to end this video here because it's gone on long enough. And in the next video, we're going to continue the interior of Mr.mo's GTO. Just give you a quick peek at the body. I've installed the front end of the car on there, and let me tell you, it is one of the worst fitting parts of this kit so far. Required quite a bit of sanding, and I'm not done yet. Wow, that was bad. So anyway, guys, that's it. I'm going to end this video here. And I will see you guys on the next one.